Very good morning. This is Dr. Varsha Rani, Department of Crop Physiology, Birsa Agriculture University, Ranchi. So, dear students, today I am going to deliver the topic photosynthesis. So, as you know that Earth is blessed with life only because of the presence of oxygen here. So, this evolution of oxygen is because of this only physiological process, that is photosynthesis. As you know that reports are there for the presence of water on Mars, but still there is no existence of life because free oxygen is not there in the atmosphere of Mars. So only the presence of water can't sustain life. In order to life to be sustained, there should be presence of free oxygen in the atmosphere. So photosynthesis is the only physiological process, or you can say it is very important physiological process which is only responsible to sustain life on Earth, and also it is source of food for herbivore and then for carnivore, as all are associated with each other in the food chain and food web. So let us discuss in detail. So first of all, what is the difference between photosynthesis and respiration? So first, in order to differentiate the process of photosynthesis and respiration, first of all, let me tell you the definition of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a light dependent process which takes place in green plants in the organelle, that is chloroplast, in presence of green pigment, that is chlorophyll, by using carbon dioxide and water as raw material, and it converts this raw material into food, that is carbohydrate or sucrose or glucose, and along with the evaluation of oxygen, which is byproduct. So in this process here you can see that photosynthesis takes place in all green plants and in few photosynthetic bacteria, while respiration takes place in all living organism. In order for photosynthesis to take place, there is requirement of sunlight, and while you can see in contrast that for the respiration process it doesn't require light and it takes place throughout the day or even at night. When we sleep we respire, and in that process sunlight or presence of light is not required. Next is that the site of photosynthesis is chloroplast. It is an organelle which is present in green plants, and it is semi-autonomous, while for respiration to take place the site of respiration is cytoplasm, and then it is again continued or completed in mitochondria. So the respiration is divided into two different sites. First, glycolysis takes place in cytoplasm, while the Krebs cycle takes place in mitochondria. So for the next difference, you can see that photosynthesis utilizes carbon dioxide and water as raw material and converts it into the carbohydrate, that is food or sucrose, while the substrate for respiration are mainly carbohydrate and other organic substances like fat or protein. So respiration, first the preferred substrate for respiration is carbohydrate, and it may shift to fatty acids or fats or proteins depending upon the availability and situation condition. Next difference is that it is catabolic process, means photosynthesis is anabolic process in which energy is formed, means energy is absorbed, required for the formation of carbohydrates, while respiration is a catabolic process in which there is breakdown of reserved food, carbohydrate, protein or fat, and there is release or evolution of energy. And the last difference is that in the process of photosynthesis, oxygen is liberated and carbon dioxide is absorbed in, while in the process of respiration oxygen is consumed while carbon dioxide is released. So this is the ultrastructure of chloroplast, which is the only organelle which is present in the plant and in which the photosynthesis takes place. So here you can see in this structure that chloroplast is double membrane, means it is having two membranes, two membranous structure. This is the inner membrane and this is the outer membrane, and here you can see this is pouch like structure which is called thylakoid. So it encloses a space inside it which is called as loculus, and when all these thylakoid are stacked upon each other it is called granum, and you can see this lot many granum are present inside this chloroplast, and they are connected by a sac-like tubular structure which is called as Fred canal. So light reaction takes place on this thylakoid, while dark reaction takes place in stroma or in matrix of this chloroplast. So this is the matrix. This is aqueous solution where the enzymes for photosynthesis are present, and dark reaction takes place here. So light reaction takes place here because the pigments which are responsible for capturing light or harvesting light are present on the envelope of the thylakoid, and they capture the light, and they carry out the light reaction, and then the end product, that is reducing power, that is ATP and NADPH, are transferred to the matrix, to the stroma, which is then utilized in the dark reaction. These are the pigments present in the plant, and these pigments are mainly chlorophyll, carotenoids, xanthophyll, anthocyanin and betalains. So first of all we will discuss about chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is the pigment, only pigment which provides greenery or green color to the plant. So chlorophyll is again divided into many, that is chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, chlorophyll C, chlorophyll D. So chlorophyll A is present in most of the plants and few photosynthetic bacteria, while chlorophyll B is present in green plants only, and chlorophyll C is present in brown algae, diatoms, dinoflagellates, while chlorophyll D is present in red algae mainly. Now coming to carotenoid. So carotenoid imparts this orange or yellow color to fruits, and this carotenoid acts as accessory pigment which capture the light energy and transfer it to the primary pigment, that is chlorophyll, and also it helps in protection of this photosynthetic machinery from photo-oxidation. Means it quenches the ROS, reactive oxygen species, which is generated during this process, and protects the photosynthetic apparatus from photo-oxidative damage. Now is the xanthophyll. Xanthophyll imparts yellow color to fruits and flowers. So it is basically responsible for imparting yellow color. Now is the anthocyanin. So anthocyanin is water soluble, and it imparts color ranging from red to purple to greenish yellow. Means depending upon pH it imparts different colors. Anthocyanin imparts red color when it is present in acidic solution. That is, it imparts red color to the petals of rose or to the apple. When apple appears red because of the presence of anthocyanin in its vacuole. Anthocyanin imparts purple color or blue color to fruits like mulberries or blueberries when it is present in neutral solution, when the pH of that solution is neutral. While it imparts greenish yellow color to fruits or flowers when the pH of that solution is alkaline. So depending upon the pH, anthocyanin imparts three different colors to fruits and flowers. Now is the betalains. Betalains is also a pigment, important pigment present in the plant, which impart yellow color mainly to flowers. So the most important photosynthetic pigment is chlorophyll and carotene mainly. So here is the difference in the structure of chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Here you can see the structure. This is porphyrin head which consists of 4 pyrrole rings. It is tetrapyrrole ring. So these are the 4 pyrrole rings, and it is in center. It is having magnesium atom, ion, and it is associated with nitrogen with 4 bonds. That is, the solid line you can see here is the covalent bond, and this dotted line is the coordinate bond. So with magnesium ion in the center, this tetrapyrrole ring is present, and it is attached with a phytol tail. So this phytol tail is hydrophilic, lipophilic, while this is hydrophilic. So in second pyrrole ring, you can see in chlorophyll A, in the structure of chlorophyll A, methyl group is present, while the only difference in case of chlorophyll B structure is that this aldehyde group is present in second pyrrole ring. So this is the structure of beta carotene, and it is composed of iodine ring. It is having iodine ring in it, and this is the structure of giaxanthin when OH group is present here, and if OH group is present here in this ring, it becomes lutein. Now coming to the process of fluorescence and phosphorescence. So as you know that during the process of photosynthesis, light energy or photons is captured by this pigment, and when any molecule absorbs light energy, it becomes excited and it tries to shift to its next excited state. So similar process, similar this physical process, or you can say this physiobiochemical process takes place in case of photosynthesis also. So when any chlorophyll molecule or pigment, photosynthetic pigment, absorb photons, it jumps to the excited state, that is second electronic singlet state. And when any molecule reaches its excited state, it tries to release some of its energy and tries to come back to its normal or ground state. So after absorbing photon, this pigment shifts to it, jumps to its second electronic singlet state, and after releasing some of the energy in the form of heat, it comes to first electronic singlet state. Again, after releasing some of the energy in form of radiation, it come back to its ground state. So this process is called as fluorescence. While in case of phosphorescence, photon is absorbed by chlorophyll molecule, and that molecule get excited and it goes to the second electronic singlet state, and then it releases some of the energy in the form of heat, and it comes to another form of excited state, that is called as excited triplet state, and it is T1. It is metastable as compared to this S1. This is unstable, S1 is unstable, while T1 is metastable, and it from this stage, the chlorophyll molecule will again try to release some of the energy in the form of radiation, and it again shifts to its ground state, and this process is called as phosphorescence. Coming to quantum important term, that is what is quantum yield and quantum requirement. So in order for photosynthesis to take place, there is requirement of certain amount of photon. Any number of photon can't trigger the process of photosynthesis. So quantum requirement is the number of light quanta required for the reduction of one molecule of carbon dioxide or evolution of one molecule of oxygen. And quantum yield is the generally 8 to 10 photons are required for evolution of one oxygen molecule. While quantum yield is the rate of photosynthesis measured as the number of oxygen molecule evolved per quantum of light absorbed. So quantum yield is generally the fraction of unity, that is 0.1 or 0.125. So as you know that photosynthesis or photosynthetic apparatus is also a machine. It is a biological machine, and from the law of thermodynamics you would have studied that any machine doesn't have 100% efficiency. So similarly, photosynthetic machinery also have a little bit lower efficiency, that it also does not have 100% efficiency. So what is the efficiency of photosynthetic machinery? It is 33%. So how this 33% efficiency was derived, you can see from this calculation, that is 8400 kilojoule energy was required for per mole of hexose, and during its oxidation 2800 kilojoule of energy was liberated. So when we put this figure into this formula, we derive the efficiency of photosynthetic machinery to be 33% only. Some of the energy is wasted in these two processes. Now coming to red drop effect and immersion effect. So photosynthesis requires two different photosystem, that is PS1 and PS2, and the existence of two different photosystem was proved by these two experiments. So these two experiments are milestone in the discovery of photosynthesis. So let us discuss these two important terms or effect. So red drop was first discovered by the scientists Emerson and Lewis, and they worked on quantum yield of photosynthesis in monochromatic light of different wavelength, and they observed that quantum yield declined sharply at wavelength greater than 680 nm in the red zone, and this is called as red drop effect. You can see here in this photograph, and this is here you know that photosynthesis takes place in visible spectrum, and this visible spectrum has a range of 400 nm to 700 nm. So in this spectrum, the rate of photosynthesis will drop when the wavelength of monochromatic light is 680 nm, and this particular drop is known as red drop effect. While in case of immersion effect, which was discovered by immersion, the sharp decline in quantum yield of photosynthesis beyond 680 nm can be brought to full efficiency by simultaneously providing short wavelength of light, and this photosynthetic enhancement is called as immersion enhancement effect. From this graph also you can see, when only far red light was given, the rate of photosynthesis was very less. While only red light was provided, the rate of photosynthesis was again very less. But when both of these were superimposed, when both the beam of lights were superimposed, the rate of photosynthesis increased. So this particular increase by providing two superimposed lights, two superimposed wavelength of lights, is known as enhancement effect. So this is the difference in red drop effect and enhancement effect. The quantum yield drops dramatically in the far red region of chlorophyll absorption, which is greater than 680 nm, and this is known as red drop effect, while the rate of photosynthesis enhances when red and far red light are given together is known as enhancement effect. Second difference is the red drop effect indicates that far red light alone is inefficient in driving photosynthesis, and in case of enhancement effect showed that there are two photochemical complexes which is known as photosystem 1 and photosystem 2 in light reaction of photosynthesis, and these two photosystem are linked by. So here, before coming to light reaction, this photosynthesis is divided into two reactions, that is light reaction and dark reaction. So before coming to light reaction, here it is explained diagrammatically that in chloroplast, inside chloroplast, this light reaction takes place on thylakoid, on the membrane of thylakoid, because light harvesting complex or light harvesting pigments are present on the envelope, this envelope. Here light energy is trapped or captured and it is converted. Light reaction means cyclic photophosphorylation and non-cyclic photophosphorylation takes place, and then the end product is formed, reducing power is formed, which is ATP and NADPH, and this reducing power is then used or is then consumed in the dark reaction. This dark reaction is a misnomer. You should understand it that dark reaction does not take place in dark, but it is independent of light. That's why it is called as dark reaction. But light reaction is dependent on light. That's why it is called as light reaction. So the reducing power which was generated in the light reaction is now consumed during dark reaction, which takes place in the stroma or matrix of the chloroplast. So here the site for these two reaction is different inside the chloroplast only. So now coming to light reaction, first of all we will discuss the cyclic photophosphorylation, which is also known as Z scheme, because here the transfer of electron takes place in form of Z. Here there is presence of two different photo system. This is photosystem 2, which is known as P680, and this is photosystem 1, which is P700. So first of all, what will happen? This water is present. Water is the source of electron. There will be photolysis of water, means by capturing light energy, water will be splitted and electron will be generated. So this electron will be generated and it will enter in photosystem 2. From here it will again become excited. After accepting the electron, this photosystem will become excited and it will go to its higher energy state. From there the electron will be transferred to different molecules which is present in this electron transport chain, and this electron will, this is down the hill. Here you can see this is down the hill and this is up the hill. So down the hill the electron will be transferred to different pigments and finally this electron will be drained to this photosystem 1, that is P700. Again after accepting the electron, this will become excited and P700 will again excited and will become excited and it will jump to its higher energy state here. Again this electron will be passed on to different pigments present over here and it will be drained finally into NADP+, which will be responsible for the formation of NADPH. So during this process, this reducing power is formed and also ATP will be released during this downhill passage of electron. So by this non-cyclic photophosphorylation, ATP and NADPH was synthesized. Cyclic photophosphorylation. In cyclic photophosphorylation, only one photosystem is present, that is P700. Two photosystems are not present, and here the electron will start from this photosystem. It will move to different pigments present in this chain, and it will again come back to this photosystem. That's why, means it will form a closed loop. Electron will form a closed loop. That's why it is called as cyclic photophosphorylation. Also, you can observe the difference that here photolysis of water does not take place, while in case of non-cyclic photophosphorylation, photolysis of water takes place. So here it is, the difference is present in tabular form. Here you can see that in case of cyclic, only one photosystem is present, that is PS1, while in case of non-cyclic photophosphorylation, two photosystems are present, PS1 and PS2. Here electron will start from P700 and it will return back to P700, while in case of non-cyclic, electron will start from P680 and it will again it will be completed to NADP, formation of NADPH. It will drain to NADP plus for the formation of NADPH. That's why it will not form a closed loop, or it will form a Z-like structure, and that's why it is known as Z scheme. Here oxygen is not evolved because photolysis of water does not take place, while here oxygen is evolved, which is the byproduct. It is found in photosynthetic eubacteria, mainly purple sulfobacteria, while non-cyclic photophosphorylation takes place in green plants and certain cyanobacteria, except photosynthetic eubacteria. I would like to tell you that this cyclic photophosphorylation is inhibited by herbicide like DCMU, while non-cyclic photophosphorylation is inhibited by herbicide like DCMU, because that herbicide affects this particular non-cyclic photophosphorylation step. This is the difference between PS1 and PS2. Now the difference between absorption spectra and action spectra. So what is absorption spectra? So the pigment, any wavelength of light that is absorbed by the pigment, photosynthetic pigment, is called as absorption spectra, but that particular wavelength exerts any effect, any physiological process is exhibited by that particular wavelength, then it becomes its action spectra. For example, in case of photosynthesis, the action spectra is of red light, means red light is effective for carrying out the process of photosynthesis, while blue light triggers the closing and opening of stomata, means for triggering the opening of stomata, the action spectra is of blue light, while red light causes the process of photosynthesis, and that's why action spectra for photosynthesis is here is the calculation. Energetics of photosynthesis means 12 carbon dioxide molecules must enter the Calvin cycle to produce 1 molecule of sucrose, which requires 36 ATP, 24 NADPH and 36 photons. Now this was by this we completed the light reaction, and we will enter in dark reaction. But before this, for discussing the dark reaction, you must know that dark reaction have 3 types of mechanism, that is C3 cycle, C4 cycle and CAM. So these 3 takes place in 3 different types of plants. So you must know the basic difference between C3 plant and C4 plant. What is the difference? So in case of C3 plant, the carbon dioxide fixation takes place in mesophyll cell only, while in C4 plant there are 2 different types of cell, that is mesophyll cell and bundle stage cell, and the fixation of carbon dioxide is completed in 2 different cells. In case of C3 plant, the acceptor of carbon dioxide is RuBP, while in case of C4 plant, the PEP is the phosphoenol pyruvate is the acceptor of carbon dioxide, and this PEP or acceptor of carbon dioxide is present in mesophyll cell and not in the bundle stage cell. In this PEP is the acceptor of carbon dioxide in mesophyll cell, while RuBP is present in bundle stage cell, similar to that of C3 plants. Now here in case of C3 plant, the first stable product formed is a 3 carbon compound, that is PGA, and in case of C4 plant, the first stable product formed is a 4 carbon compound, oxaloacetic acid, and because of the formation of this 4 carbon compound, these plants are known as C4 plant. Here you can see the Cranch anatomy is not present in C3, while Cranch anatomy is present in C4 plant. and because of the presence of Cranch anatomy only, the C4 plants are more photosynthetically efficient over C3 plant. So what is this Cranch anatomy? Means a dimorphic chloroplast. Dimorphic means there are presence of two types of cell, that is bundle slit cell and mesophyll cell. Here you can see that optimum temperature required for photosynthesis is 20 to 25 degrees centigrade, while the temperature compensation point for C4 plant is 32 to 45 degrees centigrade. Means it can carry out photosynthesis or it can perform well even at higher temperature as compared to C3 plant. Here the carbon dioxide compensation point for C3 plant is 50 ppm only, while for C4 plant it is higher, and that's why it can here the fixation of carbon dioxide can take place at lower concentration. Even if the carbon dioxide is present in lower concentration, that is up to 10 ppm, then also C4 plants can carry out the process of photosynthesis. Here in case of C3 there is a problem of photorespiration. So photorespiration is generally considered a wasteful process, though it has certain advantages also, which we will discuss later. But in case of photorespiration there is wastage of fixed carbohydrate. So this photorespiration, the process of photorespiration does not take place in C4 plant because of the presence of Cranch anatomy, and that's why there is no wastage of fixed carbohydrate. For this reason also C4 plant is considered efficient over C3 plant. Here you can see that the enzyme which is responsible for fixation of carbohydrate is RUBP carboxylase, and here the pepcase is the enzyme which is responsible for fixation of carbon dioxide in mesophyll, while again RUBP carboxylase is present in bundle slit cell, similar to that of C3 plants. Here total requirement of energy for fixation of one molecule of for formation of one glucose molecule is 18 ATP, and it requires little bit more energy, that is 30 ATP is required for synthesis of one glucose molecule. The example of C3 plant you might be knowing paddy, wheat, potato, etc., while C4 plants are sugarcane, maize, sorghum, amaranthus, etc. Here is the anatomical difference in the leaf of C3 plant and C4 plant. You can see this is C3 plant. Here it is mesophyll cells are present, you can see, and here you can see this is the anatomy of C4 plant, where this is the mesophyll cell and this is the bundle slit cell. So bundle slit cell is present in the towards the inner side, and it is surrounded by mesophyll cell from all around, because of which it provides a compact structure and it prevents the escape of carbon dioxide at higher temperature, and that's why the process of photorespiration is nil over here, and that's why it is photosynthetically efficient because of this Cranch anatomy only. Here you can see this is the stomata, this is C3 plant, and you must notice that through the pore of stomata the carbon dioxide is taken in, and loss of water is also a coupled process. When the stomata will open, carbon dioxide will taken in, and simultaneously there will be loss of water. So both of these are coupled process, and means C4 plant are also efficient for conserving water. So now coming to Calvin cycle, dark reaction we will discuss. So first of all we will discuss the C3 cycle, that is Calvin cycle. It was named after the scientist. Three scientists elucidated this cycle, that is Melvin Calvin, Basem and Benson. So three scientists combinedly worked over elucidating this pathway, but Melvin Calvin received Nobel Prize for this. And here you can see it is differentiated into three different phases, that is carbon fixation, reduction and regeneration. Here in case of carbon in the first stage, that is fixation, carboxylation process, carbon dioxide is taken in, and it will combine with RUBP in the presence of enzyme Rubisco, and it will lead to the formation of this phosphoglycerate, which will be then converted to 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate, and this is the carboxylation phase, and now is the second phase, that is reduction. In case of reduction, this will be reduced to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, one molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will go for the synthesis of sugar, while 5 molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will go back for the regeneration of RUBP, and this regeneration of RUBP is known as regeneration phase. So here you can see there is a release of consumption of ATP and NADPH, which was synthesized during light reaction. It was consumed over here. So this is a C3 cycle, and now coming to C4 cycle, which is very important. Here you can see this is the dimorphic chloroplast. This is the bundle seed cell which is present towards the inner side, and this is surrounded by mesophyll cell. We are here showing only one mesophyll cell. So here you can see that carbon dioxide, atmospheric carbon dioxide is taken in, and you know that the solution means the environment of the cell is aqueous. So when carbon dioxide will enter inside, it will combine with water to form bicarbonate ion. This bicarbonate ion will be then fixed in the presence of means there will be acceptor PEP, and in the presence of enzyme pepcase, this carbon dioxide will be converted or fixed to C4 acid, and that C4 acid is the malic acid. So C4 acid means malic acid was synthesized over here in the mesophyll cell itself, and then it will diffuse inside the bundle seed cell through the diffusion barrier. This is the plasmodesmata, and through the pore of plasmodesmata it will be diffused inside the bundle seed cell. So here this malic acid will be decarboxylated to form 3 compound. This is 4 compound acid, and it will be then degraded to form 3 compound pyruvic acid, and during this decarboxylation process 1 carbon dioxide will be released, and that carbon dioxide will enter into Calvin cycle similar to that of C3 plant. Here this carbon dioxide will be accepted by RUBP, and in the presence of enzyme Rubisco, it will be fixed to photosynthate, means carbohydrate. And this C3 acid, that is pyruvic acid, will again move back to mesophyll cell, and here it will be consumed for the regeneration of PEG. So this is the C4 cycle, and here you can see that while discussing the difference of C3 and C4 plant, we studied that C4 plant can perform better even in the lesser concentration of carbon dioxide. So my question is, where is the question of lesser concentration of carbon dioxide? Nowadays the level of carbon dioxide is increasing in environment, and now it is expected to go to the toxic level. So there is abundance of carbon dioxide. So what is the need of lesser carbon dioxide to perform better photosynthesis by C4 plant? See, during the stress condition, what happens when there is scarcity of water or there is high light intensity or high temperature? What happens? The stomata of the plant get closed in order to avoid the loss of water through transpiration. So during that process, I told you just now in previous slide that the entry of carbon dioxide and loss of water is coupled process. So in order to save water or in order to conserve water, when stomata gets closed during a stress condition, the entry of carbon dioxide is also affected. It is also reduced. So though the level of carbon dioxide is higher in atmosphere, but its concentration inside the plant or inside the cell will be less. So C4 plant has to perform better even in a lesser concentration of carbon dioxide during stress conditions. So this is the advantage of cryogenotomy. Here you can see that for the photorespiration to take place, there should be 3 important environmental conditions or a stress condition, that is high light intensity, low water availability, and higher concentration of oxygen. So here you can see Rubisco. Rubisco means ribulose bisphosphate carboxylase oblique oxygenase, means this enzyme has the capacity to work both as carboxylase and oxygenase. So when the conditions are congenial for photosynthesis, normal C3, it will work as carboxylase, but when oxygen is present or the condition for photorespiration is present, then this enzyme will shift to its oxygenase activity. So what happens when it will shift to oxygenase activity, then the process of photorespiration will take place. So what will happen? See here, during the process of photorespiration, this 3 molecule of 3-phosphoglycerate would have been formed when the condition would have been normal. But during the process of photorespiration, only 2 molecules of 3-phosphoglycerate is formed, and 1 molecule will go for the synthesis of 2-phosphoglycolate, which is the substrate for photorespiration. So here you can see that 2-phosphoglycolate has formed because of oxygenase activity of Rubisco, and this 2-phosphoglycolate will go for photorespiration. So this will go for, two molecules will go for C3 cycle, and only the amount of phosphoglycerate is reduced. That's why the overall biomass of the plant will be reduced. Means carbohydrate, the formation of carbohydrate will be lesser, and one molecule will go for the synthesis of 2-phosphoglycolate, which is substrate for photorespiration, and because of formation of this cycle will get bypassed through to photorespiration. So in previous slide only I was talking that though photorespiration is a wasteful process because it leads to the loss of fixed carbohydrate, but it has certain advantage also. So what are the advantages? So I would like to give you cite the example of a pressure cooker. You would have seen that in pressure cooker, when the pressure is formed, too much large amount of pressure is formed, then the cooker would get burst. But there is a provision of safety valve in it. Means when the pressure will increase inside, then first the safety valve will it will burst out, and most of the vapor will get escaped through that safety valve, and it will prevent the bursting of pressure cooker. Similar is the advantage of this photorespiration, that when there is high light intensity, less water availability, and higher temperature, then there is chances, or there is the formation of ROS, means reactive oxygen species. Means ROS will be formed, and these ROS have tendency to scavenge the macromolecules like protein, DNA, etc., which causes the aging or senescence of plant. So this photorespiration acts as safety valve, and it quenches the extra ROS which can be formed during adverse environmental condition, and protects the plant from this ROS. So this acts as a safety valve for the plant, though it is a wasteful process. Coming to the third mechanism of photosynthesis, that is CAM. So the full form is of CAM is crassulacean acid metabolism. This is known as crassulacean because this pathway was first elucidated in Bryophyllum, which belongs to Crassulaceae family, and in its order it was named CAM. So CAM is generally adaptation of xerophytic plant. What happens in case of xerophyte? In order to conserve water, the stomata opens during night and it gets closed during day. So when here you can see that here in case of C4 plant there is a spatial difference. Spatial means the difference of space. There are two different type of cell, mesophyll cell and bundle seed cell. So there is difference of space. While in case of CAM there is both difference of space and time, temporal difference. Means a part of photosynthesis will be in day, and part of photosynthesis will be in night. So what happens in case of night condition? The stomata will open in CAM plants, in xerophytic plants. The stomata will open during night, and carbon dioxide, atmospheric carbon dioxide will be taken in, where it will combine with water which is present in the cell. It will get converted to bicarbonate, and in presence of peptase enzyme it will converted to oxaloacetate. This oxaloacetate will get converted to malate, and this malate will be stored in the vacuole during night. Means up to this step, up to this reaction will be completed in the bundle seed cell, mesophyll cell in case of night. Now the plant will wait for the dawn, and what will happen when there will be dawn? When there will be presence of diffused light, the stomata will get closed in order to save water, loss of water, and the malic acid which was synthesized during night will get come out of the vacuole, and it will then degrade to form pyruvate, and one carbon dioxide will be released, and this carbon dioxide in presence of Rubisco will go for the synthesis of carbohydrate by Calvin cycle in bundle seed cell, and also this pyruvate will go for the synthesis of starch, and this starch will again get degraded to for the regeneration of this acceptor, that is PEP. So by this making the difference of time as well as space, the CAM plants complete their photosynthesis to conserve water. I would like to give you the example of CAM plants, that is orchid, opuntia, that is cactus, Bryophyllum, pineapple. These are the example of CAM plants, and they have xerophytic adaptation, and for photosynthesis they have the pathway of CAM photosynthesis. Now there are certain plant family, that is Ajoaceae, Vitaceae, which show or exhibit the process of CAM idling. So what is CAM idling? Means those plants, when water will be available in plenty or abundance, they will carry out the photosynthesis by C3 pathway. But when there will be a scarcity of water, xerophytic condition will be there, then they will shift their photosynthetic pathway to CAM. Means they, depending upon the availability of water, they shift this photosynthetic pathway from C3 to CAM, and this process is known as CAM idling. So by this we completed the dark reaction, and now coming to factors which affect photosynthesis. So there are two important factors, that is external factor and internal factor. So first and foremost, external factor is light. Light affects the rate of photosynthesis. So light is having again another three important parameters, that is quality of light, intensity of light, and duration of light. So first of all we will discuss the quality of light. Quality of light means the color of light. So there are, depending upon the color, it is differentiated into monochromatic light and complete light, means white light. So monochromatic means any light of any one particular color, while white light is composed of all 7 colors. So rate of photosynthesis is higher in white light as compared to monochromatic light. And when we come to monochromatic light, red light is in presence of red light, the photosynthesis or rate of photosynthesis will be highest as compared to blue light. While the rate of photosynthesis is least in case of green light. Why? Because as you know that the plant appears green. So any object whose color, any object which is appearing green, it means that green spectra is reflected back by that particular object and it is coming to our eyes. So we are perceiving that color because we are receiving that color, that particular wavelength, and it is not being absorbed by that object. So the plant is appearing green because the plants are reflecting back the green spectra and it is not being absorbed by the plant. So if it is not being absorbed by the plant, it should have no contribution in photosynthesis, and that's why the green part of light is least efficient or least effective in photosynthesis, while red part is absorbed the most and it has the most contribution, or it is most effective in the process of photosynthesis. Now coming to intensity of light. So depending upon the intensity of light, the plants are of two types, that is xerophytes and heliophytes. So xerophytes are the plant which require less intense light for carrying out optimum photosynthesis, and you know that the indoor plants like money plant or fern or any indoor plant which grow and thrive well in shed means they come under xerophyte category of xerophyte plants. So when they grow in high light intensity, there is photooxidation of their photosynthetic machinery, and there is loss of chlorophyll also, so they become they look pale yellow in color, and this is the symptom of photooxidation. So when the intensity of light will be more, the xerophyte plant will not perform well and their rate of photosynthesis will decrease. While in case of heliophyte, means they require high light intensity for optimum photosynthesis, like normal plants which grow in field condition, in open condition like wheat and rice. But extremely high light intensity for any of the plants, whether it is heliophyte or xerophyte, it is having adverse effect. So they causes the solarization or photooxidation of the photosynthetic apparatus and result in reduced photosynthesis, or even they may cause death of the plant. So now coming to the next parameter of light, that is duration of light. So the light can be provided to plant in two forms, that is continuous light and intermittent light. Intermittent means you are providing light in flash, not continuous. So which light will be more effective for photosynthesis? So of course the light in flash means intermittent light. So why intermittent light is important for photosynthesis or not the continuous light? Because you know that photosynthesis is divided into two, that is light reaction and dark reaction. So when you are providing light in flash, in intermittence, what happens when you are providing light, the reducing power will be generated, and when the light is turned off or light is not available, that reducing power will be used or consumed in the dark reaction. So if you are providing the light in continuation, then there will be continuous synthesis and accumulation of the reducing power, and this reducing power being high energy compound will cause formation of ROS, which may damage the macromolecule. So this is toxic in nature if it is present in large amount or if it get accumulated in plant. So as soon as it is produced in the plant, it must be consumed in the dark reaction. That's why flashlight is more efficient as compared to the continuous light. Second important external factor which decides the rate of photosynthesis is the concentration of carbon dioxide. So as you know that carbon dioxide is the raw material for photosynthesis, so more is the concentration of raw material, more should be the rate of photosynthesis. And it is so, as we increase the rate of concentration of carbon dioxide, the rate of photosynthesis goes on increasing, but it becomes a plateau. It comes to a plateau at certain level, which causes the saturation of this photosynthesis. And if we increase the concentration of carbon dioxide beyond that particular level, it will become toxic for the plant, and in response to it, the stomata will get closed. And if the stomata will get closed, it will no longer take in the carbon dioxide, and during that process the rate of photosynthesis will lower down. So there is the formation of bell shaped curve. If you make a graph of carbon dioxide concentration and rate of photosynthesis, means the rate of photosynthesis will go on increasing with increasing concentration of carbon dioxide. At certain level it will come to plateau, and after that it will decrease down. So third very important external factor which is responsible for optimum photosynthesis is temperature. I would like to tell you that there are certain plants which can carry out photosynthesis even in extreme range of temperature, that is conifers. There are conifers which can carry out photosynthesis at a freezing temperature of -35 degrees centigrade also, and there are some algae or Opuntia which can carry out photosynthesis at 55 degrees centigrade to 75 degrees centigrade also. But usually the rate of photosynthesis increases if we increase the temperature from 6 degrees centigrade to 35 degrees centigrade. Means below 6 degree there will be reduction in rate of photosynthesis, and if you increase the temperature above 35, then again there will be reduction of photosynthesis. So the best range of temperature or the optimum range of temperature at which the photosynthesis is the most or the best is 26 to 32 degrees centigrade, because Rubisco, the enzyme, is active most within this temperature. If you increase the temperature beyond 32, the activity of photosynthesis Rubisco enzyme will be reduced, because it is a protein, and you know, you might be knowing that at higher temperature the protein gets denatured. So the best range of temperature for the activity of enzyme Rubisco is 26 to 32, but in general the rate of photosynthesis increases from 6 degree to 35 degrees centigrade. Coming to water, which is also an important factor, external factor for photosynthesis. Water is a universal solvent, and in case of photosynthesis also it provides an aqueous medium for the functioning of these enzymes and for the solubilization of the raw material and end product. Water gives a base. So adequate, if it is present in adequate amount, the rate of photosynthesis will be optimum. If it is scarce, if water is present in scanty, then the rate of photosynthesis will decrease. And in case of submergence condition, when the water is present in excess, means the plant is submerged inside the water, then also it will retard the rate of photosynthesis, because during the condition of submergence there is formation of toxic compound, that is alcohol and ethylene, which inhibits the growth of plant or the rate of photosynthesis. Now the last important factor, external factor for photosynthesis, is oxygen concentration. So as you know that oxygen has inhibitory effect on the rate of photosynthesis, and this phenomenon is known as Warburg effect. This effect was given by the scientist Warburg, and he was German biochemist, and he elucidated the effect effect of oxygen on photosynthesis. And you might be knowing that in case of C4 plant, that is sugarcane, maize, sorghum, the oxygen does not have inhibitory effect. This is because of this Cranch anatomy. Now coming to the internal factors which affect the rate of photosynthesis, the most important is chlorophyll content. So chlorophyll, you know that it is the only green pigment because of which photosynthesis is carried out in plant. So more is the concentration of chlorophyll pigment, more should be the more is the rate of photosynthesis. But in case of etiolated seedling, so you must know what is etiolation or etiolated seedling. If you grow any seedling in dark condition, means the light is not available in that dark room, then the seedling will turn pale yellow in color, means there will be no formation of chlorophyll, or if it is already present, it will get breakdown, it will get degraded. So because of the non-formation or not formation of new chlorophyll pigment and degradation of the existing chlorophyll pigment, the seedling become yellow in color, and those seedling are known as etiolated seedling. So in those seedling, if chlorophyll is not present, the rate of photosynthesis will also decrease. While in case of variegated plant, you know there are certain ornamental plant whose leaves are variegated. Variegated means there is mosaic of yellow and green color. So in those leaves, in those variegated plants, the chlorophyll content is higher in green portion while it is lesser in yellow portion or white portion. So the rate of photosynthesis will be less in the non-green part of that variegated leaf, while it will be more in the green part of that variegated leaf. Now coming to the next internal factor, that is accumulation of end product of photosynthesis. So when the photosynthesis is going on, there is a formation of end product, that is carbohydrate, which get accumulated in the leaf. So if there is accumulation of carbohydrate in the leaf, the rate of photosynthesis will decrease by feedback inhibition, and it must be translocated from source to sink in order to carry out the photosynthesis again. So this is also one of the internal factor which affects the rate of photosynthesis. Now coming to the anatomy of leaf, means anatomy of leaf means the presence of hair on the leaf hair, presence of cuticle, thickness of cuticle, presence of stomata, whether it is present on the upper side, lower side, position of stomata, whether it is present on the surface or it is shrunken, the position of stomata is shrunken. So there are presence of more of spongy tissue, more of mesophyll cells. So all these are the anatomy of the leaf which decides the or governs the rate of photosynthesis. So because all this structure, all this anatomical feature of leaf affects the entry of light inside the leaf. So if the leaf will be absorbed inside the plant or by the leaf, it will affect the rate of photosynthesis, means rate of photosynthesis will be more. But because of the presence of these factors, epidermis, cuticle on the epidermis or leaf hair, the light will be reflected back, and it will not enter the inside the plant. So by this, the presence of these external features of the leaf, the rate of photosynthesis will be affected. Now coming to microstructure of chloroplast. Microstructure of chloroplast means whether it is having normal chloroplast or it is having dimorphic chloroplast. So in case of C4 plant, the chloroplast is dimorphic. Presence of two different type of chloroplasts are present, which we call Cranch anatomy, and this also decides the rate of photosynthesis. In previous slide also I discussed that C4 plant are photosynthetically efficient over C3 plant. This is only because of the reason that C4 plant are having Cranch anatomy in it. So somehow the microstructure of chloroplast is affecting the rate of photosynthesis. So by this we completed this topic, photosynthesis. Thank you.